Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am actually here to review a movie that I saw last night. So, I wanted to watch a movie because this is a movie review channel, and so I actually stayed up late to watch Queen of Blood. This is a movie that I've been wanting to watch for a long time. If you guys don't know, when I was a kid, I would watch this movie. Well, it wasn't really a movie, it was this vampire trailer compilation video, and it was called Dracula in the Movies. And in this video, it was basically like just trailer after trailer of different vampire movies with a little bit of narration mixed in. And I also thought this movie might be helpful for recovering past life memories due to one of the cast members and also the time period of this movie. However, this movie is a lot like a lot of the actors, quote unquote actors that I've worked with, in that, you start off thinking, oh, this could be good, and then it's just a huge disappointment that doesn't really do anything for the most part. That's kind of like what this movie's like. It's sad too, because the trailer for this movie, when I was a kid, I thought, wow, this trailer is awesome. They took all the best parts of the movie and they literally just added them together and then put some really good music over it. And they put this great font too. They had this really creepy neon kind of colorful font that they did for the captions in the trailer. And they did a really good job, like marketing this movie, I guess, or making it look like it was going to be a great movie. And then I actually got into it, and wow, it was boring. I stayed up until, guys, this is unbelievable. I stayed up until 1 o'clock in the morning so I could watch this full movie. And it was not worth it. Let me tell you. So for starters, this movie has a great cast. You got John Saxon, the dad from Nightmare on Elm Street. You got Dennis Hopper. You got Basil Rathbone. The two actors, one of them plays the other astronaut, and then the other one who's actually the villain. They did a great job. You had this. I would dare to say this was a grade A cast. This was the type of cast that you couldn't even get nowadays. Like nowadays, I don't know, it just there's not really like much of anyone, like when you put people together, I mean, there's never really that feeling anymore that, oh wow, we're going to get to see them together. You know what I mean? Because like nowadays, they're always doing all these press junkets together, no matter if they're in movies or not. They do all these events together. They do award shows. You see them together all the time. Whereas, back in the 60s, I feel like when they put certain actors together, it was like a special event. It was like something that like, oh wow, we're going to get to see them together? That's great. I can't wait to see that. I don't know what my cat wants. Hi, Bernie. What did you think of Queen of Blood? Okay. I don't know what he wants. It's weird because every time, like he likes to sit in my room, but every single time that I like get up and do something, or like he'll get up off of his chair and start walking around. It's really bizarre. But anyways, I'm gonna finish this review and then probably see what's going on with him. Maybe he wants to leave the room. Honestly, I'm too tired to get up. I'm really tired. from staying up and to watch that movie. So what this movie is about is the NASA, or I don't even know if it's NASA, the space people on Earth, they get a transmission from a planet. I think it was Mars, or yeah, it might have been Mars, and there's aliens on that planet. And they send the first ever alien communication to these people. And then they announce that like one or two of the aliens are going to get on a ship and come to Earth. And I will say too, for some reason the quality of this movie was terrible. I watched it on Tubi, and the movie looked like a 2007 YouTube video. You know, it looked like it was shot in like 230p, and it looked terrible. It looked soft, it looked blurry. You could barely tell what was going on. And yeah. So I guess I have to let him out now. I don't know what he's doing. You guys know the funny thing is, as soon as I let him out, he's going to go run around for 2 minutes, and then he's going to come back and want to get into my room. So anyways, what ends up happening, though, is that they send these other astronauts to go up into space, and I think to, like, meet up with them and to take them back to Earth in their spaceship, and it's really boring. It's so, like, just, like, there's nothing there, and you can sense that they don't really have budget, that they don't really have a script where much of anything goes on. They only had these couple of sets, so they just had to, like, and I don't know, because I feel like this movie was a good example of people wasting their resources, because although they did have these few sets, I feel like the majority of the movie, the majority of the movie should have been spent with the main villain and the alien in the movie. However, when they finally get up to space, it takes all the way until 25 minutes are left in the movie for the main villain to show up. So we had to wait around. I mean, this is also a typical thing, I think, of a lot of low-budget movies that are bad, is that you spend like 70% of the movie waiting around for something to happen, and then in the last 30 minutes, finally they have the character show up and they have something actually happen. And then it just turns out to be trash. And that's exactly what happens in this movie. You know, they get the Queen of Blood on board. And by the way, too, the title is terrible, because the title actually spoils that she's a Queen of Blood or whatever, you know, because, like, they don't know that she's the queen. They don't know anything about this alien, because what happened was the alien spaceship crashed on this random planet, the model diorama planet that they built for the movie, and I can't remember, it was called like Fultron or Fulkin or something, I have no idea, but they crash landed there, and she was the only one left or something. They had to go there and rescue her. There was a big to-do with that, and you know, her character, right off the bat, her makeup is terrible. And it's weird, too, because in the Dracula in the Movies video, she had gray skin. She had this gross gray skin. And I thought, you know, she actually was pretty creepy in that trailer. In fact, I will say that one of the weird things, too, and this is something that I think is also unique to back then, it's unique to old movies, is that in the trailer, she's fighting with the main female, I can't remember any of the names of this movie. I'm sorry. I can't even remember any of the guys' names either. The Chad, Dennis, and Jane. I don't know. Like, I think there is actually a Dennis in the movie, but, like, I don't know. I literally don't know who is who, and I don't know what is what. So, and that might be, some of you might be saying, yeah, that's typical of you, Marco. And it's like, yeah, I know. Because it takes a while for me to memorize names. That's why with a lot of people, I like to give them nicknames, because it's easier for me to associate, like, my nickname with them than their actual name sometimes. But, I do make it a priority to know the names of people that I work with, and etc. People like that. But what was I talking about? I think I was talking about how... okay, yeah, in the trailer, they added sound to the Queen's... she doesn't talk in this movie. She just sits there and smiles, and then she goes off and hypnotizes the guys one at a time and kills them. But she doesn't really talk at all. But in the trailer, they added this sound when she's fighting the female astronaut, and that sound is not even in the movie. And I thought that was kind of weird, because it's like the people who made the trailer knew that this movie was bad, and they tried to save it. They tried to save it by making it look as fantastic as possible, and unfortunately, it did not pay off. Anyways, so this Queen of Blood character, she's really bland. And she's really kind of dull, because she's not very scary. The actress is actually really good. She's great at making these creepy faces, and great at coming off like a creepy alien vampire woman. But the problem is that in my opinion, because the core of this movie was a great premise, and the premise was, there's this alien. She's a vampire alien, and we have to get her back to Earth so that she can be studied. We cannot kill her, which is so unique to vampire movies, because usually in a vampire movie like Dracula, it's always like, oh, we have to destroy this vampire immediately, as soon as possible. In this movie, however, the objective is to keep her alive, and they really don't want to hurt her at all. And again, I think that you could have made a genuinely great suspense, thriller, horror movie if you had spent the majority of the movie with her on the ship with these different people. A psychological thriller, horror, vampire movie. That would have been really good. And that's what I expected from the trailer, because that's what they made the whole movie look like in the trailer. They did not show that the whole movie was going to be this boring, dull 1960s movie where nothing happens and just people just walk and talk and talk and sit and talk and talk and talk. I mean, it was boring. Man, this movie was really boring. It has like a body count of 2, like 1 or 2 people that get killed. They get killed off screen. I mean, there's so many points, too, where you can clearly tell that this movie doesn't have a budget, because they'll do something like that, and it really wore me out, just because of, like, I felt like I was sitting around the whole movie waiting for something interesting to happen, only for nothing interesting to happen and to be extremely disappointed. And how the villain gets defeated is probably the biggest FU of the entire movie. She gets defeated because the main female astronaut, she scratches her on the back. A little tiny scratch. And the little tiny scratch makes her bleed a little tiny bit. And that amount of blood is enough blood lost to kill the alien queen. I mean, that is just really, really bizarre. I mean, I know that there are good, unique ideas in this movie, but that was not one of them. I mean, could you imagine Count Dracula, like the whole movie, he's going on a reign of terror, and then at the end of the movie, he just gets killed really... Oh, wait. He gets killed really easily in every single effing movie he's in almost, you know? Like, so there have been some Dracula movies that have the same problem, and I would say that this movie, though, it's almost satirical. It's almost satirical because, you know, they say that, like, Christopher Lee's Dracula, for instance, he's been killed in almost every way, shape, or form imaginable. And, you know, it's the same thing in this movie, you know, like, where it's like, wow, that's what it took to kill her? A little scratch on the back? Like, that's really, really weak. And it was just like, because that was the only part where she fought anybody. You know, like, you'd think that she would be like a really intense opponent. Like, she is the queen of her alien colony. And she's this weak little biatch who just goes around hypnotizing people. She's completely weak. This is like, and I have only seen one episode of Star Trek. One episode and then 10 minutes of another one that was kind of boring and dull. And then some of the movies that I couldn't finish. But this would be like a Star Trek episode where they go to an alien planet and then all the aliens are just weak and lame. You know, like that's basically the villain of this movie. She's weak and lame. And she immediately gets killed. She's not a threat at all. I mean, you hardly got to see her in much of the movie. Most of the movie was just a bunch of boring talking scenes. And there was hardly any blood in the movie, too. There was like a little tiny blood here and there. It looked like ketchup. And the big twist is that she laid a big bunch of eggs. And to the movie's credit, the eggs do look pretty creepy and gross. I don't know what they did to make the eggs, but the eggs do look good. So they determined that she was the queen of the alien colony, and she laid these eggs, and that was probably like her whole objective, was to get to Earth and to lay a bunch of eggs so that these aliens could, you know, breed on Earth and start killing the entire planet or something, you know, like a takeover. So the astronauts have to end up saving those eggs for the scientists on Earth, which, you know, if you've seen horror movies, that's a huge mistake. However, it's framed in such a way where it's more of like a science fiction, like what if, like a, you know, kind of like a question to the audience, like, is this what you would have done, or would you have destroyed them? And so I thought that was also a good idea that the movie had, because it was like the only thing, it was like a little tiny piece of a good movie there at the end, but you know what's going to happen. I mean, they clearly hint that something bad's going to happen. The last shot of the movie is just her eggs. So, overall, I thought that this movie was extremely disappointing. I thought it was boring and dull. I was trying not to fall asleep. And also, they had this weird idea of, like, she's like a plant person, too, because she's kind of green in the movie. Like, in the trailer and the Dracula in the movies VHS, she clearly has gray skin. But in the actual movie, she has, like, light green tinted skin. So I don't know what was up with making her like a plant person. That's another issue. And I don't know what else to say. I guess I should give my food review because I don't think that this movie is really worth talking about very much anymore. I would give this movie, this movie, I will say, it's like a good drive-in movie. You know, like if you want to watch a 60s, like, cheap kind of drive-in movie that you can just turn your brain off and eat popcorn and shit and watch and enjoy, then you will probably have a really good time with this movie. There were some people on IMDb and they gave this movie a 10 out of 10. And this movie is not a 10 out of 10, but I guess it is to some people. And I bet that they drank a lot before they wrote that review because this movie is just kind of bad. So I would give this movie is the equivalent of a small popcorn with a small soda and a half-eaten chocolate bar. That's what this movie's like. It's like, you're like, wow, I can't wait to go see Queen of Blood. And then you go there and you get the experience that is equivalent to a small popcorn, a small soda, and a half-eaten candy bar. I mean, that's just not a very satisfying experience. You know, I saw that, like, for one of the movie theaters, I think it was AMC, they have a loyalty program for that where you can earn points and shit. And I saw that, like, the big first reward is that you get a small soda. And I thought, you know, there's a lot of companies nowadays doing loyalty programs. And I think that if a movie theater's loyalty program their first reward is a small soda, then they probably need to reevaluate whether or not people would find that valuable. Because I would have much preferred, like, a candy, you know, like a free candy or a buy one get one free deal. You know, that would be even better. So anyways, I would highly recommend staying away from Queen of Blood. On the good note, though, I might almost be done with the movies in the Dracula in the movies VHS video. I might have almost seen every single movie that is on that tape, which honestly, as a kid, that was kind of like one of my dreams. You know, I would sit there and I would have a big piece of paper on a clipboard and I would just write down the names of the movies in pencil and say, like, yeah, I want to watch all these movies eventually. And so it's actually like a really big accomplishment, at least for the kid version of me, to have seen almost all these movies, if not all these movies. So anyways, I'm glad to have finally done a movie review again. I love reviewing movies. So please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of Queen of Blood. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.